I've been warning about the problems of the federal judicial branch of the federal bureaucracy for a long time. Now, the reason why I'm sort of maybe a little bit more alert to it, half of it is a populist perspective on power and politics, but the other half of it is life experience as a lawyer taking on political cases. So I've seen this ugly side of the federal bureaucracy and federal judiciary for a long time. The difference was they mostly targeted the politically marginalized, those without power, those without popularity, like the tax protest movement, like, an Amish farmer, other people that could be easily targeted without rallying public support traditionally. The way they treated the tax protest community was in violation of every principle and precept of due process of law that they suddenly care about. Due process for illegal gangbangers, but no due process for January 6th defendants, for example, is part of that. So because they would target the politically marginal, the net effect was that my voice was often in the wilderness, that there weren't enough normies or mass public support or institutional influence on behalf of these individuals against the rogue, wayward judicial branch and bureaucracy. The way they treated Trump between 2020 and 2024 started to awaken and alert more people. But the reality is the great threat that the judicial branch and the bureaucracy pose to America's constitutional liberty has never been greater. And the upside of their challenging everything with Trump and going over the top and to the extreme again and again and again because they can't help it. They just, if you would have told me in advance, okay, we want the judicial branch to expose itself to the world, to help educate the court of public opinion, which in turn can influence the Supreme Court, which in turn can influence Congress, which in turn can influence future elections. I would say that what you would want to do is take your most popular proposals and get them challenged by the court. You cutting fraud, you cutting aid to foreigners that was illicit from the get-go, you cutting changing personnel of people in positions of power, as the president is elected to do as a constitutional head of the executive branch and vested exclusively with that power. Legislative branch is given zero executive power. Judicial branch is given zero executive power by the Constitution. All executive power is vested exclusively, solely, wholly in the elected president of the United States. I would say the second thing you'd want them to do is you'd want them to challenge you on immigration. Why? In part because Supreme Court law makes it clear that the president's supposed to have carte blanche in the area of immigration. The second, the courts themselves have gone that route by preventing states like Arizona and Texas, for example, from policing their own borders, saying it's exclusively a presidential prerogative. And so that history gives you very good terrain to fight in the courts. But more importantly, that when they go rogue, it educates the public at how dangerous the judicial branch's power grab has been. That all this bad behavior that they've been engaged in for decades against the politically marginalized, what happens when they do it against the popular position, against the president of the United States? That what happens is it gives a sort of a quick crash course, masterclass in the true nature of the judicial branch and how it poses imminent and exigent risks to our constitutional liberty on a go-forward basis. So we needed this to get exposed. We needed the court of public opinion to be awake and alert. And for that to happen, we needed the commies on the bench to expose themselves as commies on the bench. Fortunately, all three have now come into clear relief. Not only is that good for the court of public opinion for the Trump side of the argument, but it will further it increases the probability. In fact, I gave this out as a pick at sportspicks.locals.com that a federal judge will be impeached before the year is over. That's where this is going because it has no choice. When you have a judge who issued an order that was illegal from the get-go, to which he didn't have jurisdiction, to which he was not randomly assigned, as due process itself requires, by the way. It's not just a local federal judicial rule that requires random assignment. Due process of law requires that such assignments be done consistently with the local protocol, or otherwise someone has been deprived of the process to which they are due, in this case, the Trump administration. And then issuing an insane order, like I order you to bring terrorists and gang members and gangbangers back to the United States who are never legally present here in the first place, which the judicial branch did almost nothing about during Biden's term, by the way, further inculpating them in this entire illegal immigration process, making many of them criminal complicit parties in what has taken place.